self-talk play a role into your training? So that change in verbiage, change in whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, self-talk is everything. I mean, if nobody, if I'm not going to encourage myself, who else is going to encourage me? I mean, I can't assume that there's positive people always around me, but that inner dialogue, whatever your thing is, whatever your mantra is, it's everything. It's absolutely everything.
I find that with me, it starts before I even start my run. When I wake up in the morning, whether it's for a race or a long run, or even in the evening after work, if I'm going out on a run, it helps to already start that self-talk in a place that's going to make it running something I'm going to look forward to. So I have a great story of one of my best times. It was actually my PR marathon time. I woke up that morning at 4 a.m. in Seattle, Washington, and said, I get to run a marathon today. And that made a world of difference in my overall race, even though it was hard. Saying, I get to do this. I'm so proud that my body can do this. I'm proud I can do this. Made a world of difference. So I think mindset it's not... I almost want to say mindset is everything. Of course, your physical conditioning matters too, but your mindset, your mantras can really make or break anything from your race to your training runs.
So how do you guys change your mindset mid-run if you don't get to wake up that way, or your mindset changes during the run? Either of you can start.
I think when I'm on a run, I think when I have people around me, you can, I guess there's two styles. You can associate, really hone in on your body, your breathing, your cadence, or you could kind of disassociate, meaning that, well, let's not think about the run. Let's chat it up. What are you doing this weekend? What's your reward going to be after this run? What are we going to stuff our pie holes with? So, and then, there is that mantra thing, and I'll let you in on my mantra. I have the 4 F's, right? There's when things are getting a little tough, I'm like, hey, we're having fun, right? Okay, and then when things get a little tougher, you're like, when the legs are heavy, feathers, right?
It. Nice and light.
And then when I got to step it up, I mean, I'm a Star Wars geek. I'm like, the Force, use the Force, right? And then my 4th F is F yeah, I could do this. F yeah, That's my thing. But everyone's got their own thing.
Oh, I love that. It provides, it's almost like a different tool or weapon for each kind of mental state you could be in.
You obviously can't start with F yeah and then go, oh, feathers. Like there's an order to this thing, right?
That's awesome. I sometimes will utilize, and I'll tell runners on MTT this, thinking of your run like a chapter book, right? So if you are in a certain section and it's hard or it's raining or you're just really winded, heck, on marathon day when you're on Arthur Ashe Boulevard going up and over the bridge and it's in the direct sun and all of that, trying to pick a place and be like, okay, I will embrace the suck until that moment, but then that chapter's over and I'm ready for a new mindset. So picking a physical location to really, and just shifting your mindset to say, okay, I can feel this way now, but then it's time to move on can make a huge difference too.
Yeah, and speaking of race day, one thing that really works for me is when I need a boost, man, I'm just gonna look to the crowd, find that kid and go in for that high five. The kid that does not expecting it or even want it, and come on, give me that high five. You know what I mean? So that's one thing that works for me.
Okay. So Caitlin, you mentioned the kind of finding that break or something. Mm-hmm. What else do you guys do if you find that you do need the break, or that you need a break from training or a walk break in the race? How do you guys adjust your mindset in that point?
Well, in terms of the training season, there are times when you're going to be physically run down and mentally run down, and it's okay to take that day off, right? And for the people that can't take that day off because they're too anal about their training, well, have an easy day, go out, hit the trails and take it slow, just enjoy the scenery. And on race day, when things are getting tough, it's that high five, or hey, sometimes it just takes actually stop at a sag for 10 seconds and actually drink the liquid versus throwing it on your face and dripping down your shirt. So I don't think it takes much sometimes. It does not take much to recharge and regroup.
I think perspective can play a world of difference too. So trying to shift your perspective to a past version of you, a past or even peers who have, maybe seen your running journey and are so impressed and can't believe that you wake up on a Saturday in July to go run 13 miles or whatever it is. And just having that perspective that even especially on a training run, if you're walking part of it, you're moving your body for some crazy amount of distance on a Saturday morning, which is more than what most people are doing. You're really active and having, stepping back, because we can get so stuck in this certain distance and this certain time and sticking to the training schedule and pushing yourself. But if you step back and just realize how impressive it is already what you're doing and give yourself some grace to listen to your body when you need to, it really can work wonders. And again, mindset is a huge part of it. So just taking that step back, thinking of a past version of yourself that would be so impressed at what you're doing now, or again, others in your life that are already impressed with you. Just hear their voices in your head.
Does self-talk and visualization play a role in either your training or your coaching?
I'm a mantra guy. It really does.
What's your mantra then?
So
how does that play a role?
Mine is mine.
Which one?
Mine. Yeah.
It depends on the minute.
That's right. Especially on the Coast Guard a few weekends ago. It was like get through the wind. It was run your own race. I think sometimes for Chris Mason, and I will tell this to everybody, I start running next to Kerry Parker or Billy, and then I start running Billy's race, and I do not know how to control myself. So sometimes it's about, you have to remember to run your own race. And then I think it was Dina Castor she was speaking at a Roadrunner national convention that I went to, and she said, just smile. Because when you do smile, it's a weird genetic thing or physiological thing, but it does get a little easier. And so when I went off course, which I did in a marathon, and the guy told me, I think you're going the wrong way. And I was like, I smiled though, because what can you do? There's nothing you can do except turn around, add a couple tenths, and go back. But those are my two. Really just smiling. It's not really the mantra, but just, you got to run your race.
How does self-talk or visualization play a role in your training or your coaching of others?
I think that for me, particularly in the last year, and I say that because I feel like that I've chosen some pretty large challenges, I have to remind myself that I chose this and I get to do it. And I know people who may get to choose it, but they don't get to do it. So there is definitely a lot of that involved in my harder, darker moments. And I would also say that, there's always you look down and you're like, or you look at your route, or you look at your watch, or you look at the time, whatever, and you're like, I can do this for any amount of time, whatever the time is. Oh, it's only 3 more miles. And it doesn't matter if it's 3 or 18, quite frankly.
Just having a good day.
It's just a matter of making it a positive and not letting the darkness that can creep in.
Yeah, such a mental sport. Such a
Yeah.
mental sport.
And
I do too. I'll think about my at-home routes. Even though
Yeah.
I have run 20 miles,
Yeah.
I'll go, this is just that's that 6 mile
Yeah.
loop. Right? And it helps you, and I teach that. I coach that too as well. I was coaching that during the Coast Guard Marathon. Real quick, I know we're rambling, but during the Ultra with Kristen, there was a guy that had done 100 of them. And I was like, what do you tell yourself when you're struggling?
Yeah.
Because it's good to tap into those
Yeah.
folks. And he said, what you just said, he said, we have to remind ourselves that we're just lucky to be out here.
Right.
And so this kid was struggling, who's maybe, I'm going to leave that out. But I was like, he's a Coast
He's like
Guard.
30.
Yeah, exactly. And he was out there struggling, but I was like, no matter what, just remember that we're lucky to be out here.
Right. Well, and it also isn't, no event is a defining.
Nope.
It doesn't define who
It
you
takes
are.
the perfect recipe for one event to be 100% what you want.
So you've talked about going to those dark spaces, you've talked about those kinds of things. What are some strategies that you've used in the past that might have helped you, or that have helped other runners that you've coached?
Sometimes they don't. And sometimes that is the reality. Sometimes you can talk yourself to your blue in the face, and really for me, going back to the run your own race has really helped me keep me in check, because that's when you can kind of get to the place where you want to be in that race. So that just the use of the mantra, that stuff has helped me through some of the races. And then I do think about people who can't do it anymore. Right. And I do think about my dad and how he fought through cancer for so long that, but he also would tell me, slow down if you have to slow down. Like,
Yeah.
know your body. Like, he didn't want, so I used him as motivation when I'm out there too.
For me, I think it's about thinking about distractions. And when I say distractions, you're running. Your body is going to run whatever pace. If you're in a dark point, it's going to run at whatever pace it can, whether that's a run or maybe not so much of a run. But thinking about things other than I've got to go this much further. Sometimes it's as simple for me as saying left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. Hey, and look down and see that they're actually doing it. Like, sometimes there's some joy in just looking at my feet going.
And it distracts you.
And it's a distraction. And I think that's definitely something that I'm not going to say that I've coached into people as much as I feel like that when we're out on course on marathon day, and I think this past year is a perfect example, we're not thinking about how hot it is. We're not thinking about how much water you really wish you had. It's, hey, you're getting ready to turn on Pope Avenue. Once you turn on Pope, you've got like 3 turns left. Just think a little bit more about, I think, the bigger picture and not so much about that moment. So
That's a good
whether
call.
it's race or complete distraction.
And that's why I'm out there, just to talk to them and just annoy them till they want to finish.
Yeah.
But you're right. It goes back to the constant theme, I think, for both of us today. It's a mind game. And you have to really just remember, it may be easy for us to say, but like once you hit the stadium, it's single digits. Like you start getting that zone. So
Okay. A lot of people know this as like your thing. You're always super positive and motivated and always helping push people forward. How do you stay so motivated, positive, even through tough times like with your COVID? I told you we were getting deep.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, because it's not always that way on the inside. But I think that the little voice that gives me the yappy little voice that we have, you're not that somebody, why aren't you going faster? Oh, it's tired. It's hot out here. It's easy to put that's linked with the gratitude. Mm-hmm. It's easier to put those things aside if you, one, genuinely enjoy what you're doing. If you absolutely hate running and you never enjoy a moment of it, like,
maybe don't do it.
there are other things to do. Mm-hmm. But I think that, really looking at what we're doing, running, training, doing races, as something, I hear it all the time, but we get to run marathons. It's a privilege to be in a body that can move ourselves forward at whatever pace, at whatever you are on that day, wherever you are in your running journey. It's like, we have the time, we have the energy, we're healthy enough. It's great. I love it. And it's fun. And there are so many difficult things in the world that we push ourselves to do. I feel like running is one that's fairly simple insofar as what you input. I mean, you run forward, you run, you walk, you jog, you move your body forward. And the things that you can get out of that, it's not super complicated, but it can be very, very rewarding. So it makes it easier to stay positive.
How does self-talk play a role in your training? Do you have a mantra that you use for your run? So that kind of a two-parter. It can either be about the mantra or self-talk, but how does that all play a role in your training?
Do you want me first?
I can.
Well,
Sorry.
you got serious.
I know.
Like, you were having a great time, and now all of a sudden,
Let me think about this.
You hit us with the legacy question, and now I'm contemplating my entire life.
Oh my gosh, that is gonna happen. No. The most important thing is to keep that positive mindset. Whatever that may be, and my mantra changes all the time depending on the race and the situation. My mantra might be, are we allowed to use profanity?
I was about to say, I was like, ooh, I got some good
No
ones.
profanity. So It may include profanity in one of the mantras, but another one might be, you know, just as simple as I can do this. I've done hard things. I could also do this. And just, I think when you've had, for myself, when you've had some challenging races where you felt like giving up, just that feeling of I'm going to keep going and I'm going to finish this, and that mindset of just perseverance through adversity, right? The wheels start falling off and all the wheels are off.